G'day, g'day, g'day. Welcome to another Frothy Friday. Welcome to my garden. Whoa. Ooh. Today's been a beautiful winter's day. The ocean is finally cooling, and I had a beautiful frolic down there with a couple of buddies, Ryan and Daz. Shout out to them. Have been having a few beautiful catch-ups this week, actually. One with a former client of mine who's now become a dear friend, and there's something really interesting about this tale because I've got this sneaking suspicion, which continues to be proven, that when people explore the changes that, or the potential changes that they can make through the lens of vice optimization, changing their drinking habits, let's just use that one because that is top of mind, they tend to find a pathway to something bigger, something better, to interconnectedness, probably through connection to themselves and then connection to other on deeper levels, which leads them to work in industries and on projects that are better for the collective whole. I will give you a couple of cases in point. A beautiful lady by the name of Jean in the UK found a 101 tokens ad probably like 3 years ago, and she was at the time working for Mars, quite not healthy across the board, whichever version of health I'm sure she would attest to. She wasn't firing on any cylinders, and after changing her diet and applying the token system, which at a fundamental level all you are doing, and whether you want to call it tokens or whatever, basically the idea and the synthesis of the idea is that you are taking a habit, something that you do, and you are elevating it to something higher. You are changing the habit into a token, if you will. That's the easiest way to say it, because when you spend a token, you are taking into account that this experience is worth more to you than the usual way that you interact with said vice or said habit. And so therefore, you can upgrade your thinking, you can hold yourself to account, you can find the integrity within that you live the rest of your life with, hopefully, and allow that to shine through this habit, which is now a token and a frothy expression of who you are as a human. And so Jean went on to work for a not-for-profit, I believe, not-for-profit, whatever, fucking something that's good for the world. Not that all not-for-profits are good for the world. That would be a wide generalization. However, they probably have a higher percentage of things that are good for everyone. And so, yeah, magical. Good work, Jean. Another example was a fellow entrepreneur, Eric, over in Canada. And we worked out that while he was running his 5 businesses, it wasn't so much that he needed to change his drinking habits. It was that we found a moment that was coming up for him that was really important, where the token system was going to be super crucial. And that was hanging out with Richard Branson in Africa on a tour, on a 5-day tour. And we could have said that in the real world that Eric was living at that time, he could have gone over to this adventure and blown his head off, figuratively speaking. And the goal was, after we'd riffed and dialogued on where do you want to get to through this process, I think I'm speaking a little bit quieter because I feel like the birds appreciate that. All of us humans just walking around. Wah, 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 wah. So that's for you birds, random thought of mine. And maybe it's because I'm just out in my garden, and gardens are a place for silence, not for robots and pelicans talking into robots. Anywho. And yeah, Eric's goal was to have a frothy conversation with Sir Richard Branson, the space cadet these days, in alignment with the potential that he had to give within his own integrity as a human, and to talk about not his e-commerce brands, etc., that made him heaps of money, but the positive work he was doing with the youth locally, and this idea he had for a startup in the good space, in the future for all space, And he found himself sitting next to Richard, not with a fucking gnarly hangover like he could have been lulled into. He was on tour with a bunch of young, thriving entrepreneurs. What do? You get whipped up, you get frothy, and you drink. But when you elevate your drinking session to a token with something of a higher meaning, with a goal at the end of the project, which was to have a good yarn, you get Richard Branson getting his phone out and giving you his daughter's phone number to call her, when he's ready to take his idea project to the next level. Now, to me, I think, oh yeah, it'd be cool if the entrepreneur or folk that you've gone to have a yarn with gave you their number. But actually, what bigger compliment could there be than trusting you with a family member's details? So ripping. And so there's the yarn this week was really with my buddy Ben, who was my client a couple of years ago, and Ben has won a bunch of awards for his roles in business, and he was working for I believe, I'm trying to remember, advertising has a lot of those like FMCG, fast moving consumer goods, blah blah, wackety wah wah. Anyway, Ben's a bit of a awesome businessman, but let's just say the products that he was selling, not really good for the health of the planet. We don't need to dive into that, but the beautiful thing is that he's a beautiful human, and I saw him a couple of years ago and he was telling me he was thinking of leaving, and I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting. I wonder if the prophecy comes through the token system of people who change their habits and find something different to do, which may be their calling, which may be part of their calling, which may be a stepping stone to something frothier. And he ended up going back into that role. And so, yeah, I was having a feed and a beer with Ben. And he'd actually last year, he took a whole year off drinking. So we optimized his drinking 1 year. And then he said, Benny, I'm having a whole year off. And I was like, cool, whatever floats your boat. That's not uncommon. And then this year, he's back, having a few tokens when it's worthy. And I sat down and he leaned over, and I was like, oh, what's new? What are you frothing on, mate? And he goes, oh, well, the reason I'm down here catching up with me mates is because I've left my job and I've joined a renewable tech startup. And I was just like, well, there you bloody go. Sometimes things take a little bit longer. And I'm not saying that everyone's going to transition a habit to a token, a higher plane of frothy existence, and then all of a sudden want to do something that's better for the planet. But hey, there's a pretty fucking good strike rate these days. If we map everyone out, that's pretty cool, or at least the ones that I have kind of direct contact with. Yeah, and let's just say, like, I haven't heard the story of anyone becoming evil, like Dr. Evil, after they've done tokens. I feel like they've, in one way, shape or form. And it's just so obvious, because I think when you start to connect with a higher importance, and when you're abusing vices, which is maybe for some people a little bit harsh to say that, but unfortunately it's probably the case, because we've all done it. I've done it. I did it last week. Cakes and donuts and fucking chocolate brownie I didn't need to buy. Yep, that's why I didn't sleep so well. And yeah, it kind of really knocks you about, and it takes you out of alignment. And I always say the world is, what's my saying? I was feeling a bit flowy before, and now I'm kind of getting a little bit maybe hot under the sun with my Irish nose getting burnt. The world is drunk, and our hangovers are costing us more than we know. And so obviously the world isn't drunk, but we're all drunk on something, I think. Not all of us, but a lot of us. And so once we figure out what that thing is that we are drunk on, because I think when I say our hangovers are costing us more, when we're hungover, we have those, like, we just give ourselves allowances, It's like beer tickets or work tickets or whatever the system is, I've done me work this week, that means I can have me 20 beers this weekend and it'll be all fucking right. And that means you probably have your KFC and you do the rest of it. This isn't a lecture. This is just a Frothy Friday. So I hope you're having a Frothy Friday yourself. I hope there's a little bit of inspiration in some of these yarns that potentially you could find your own token system, because that's the thing, it's not that intricate, it's not that fancy. There is an app, but you don't need to download it, you just need to commit to something. And I always say fuck abstinence as well. That's boring. Abstinence is good once I think you've come to terms with that looking for the positive in something is not an option. Yeah. Everything in moderation is bullshit as well. I think it's everything in optimization, because moderation doesn't work for some folks. And in that case, that's when probably the abstinence is a better way to do it. Anyway, what else is going on? Oh yeah, running a workshop on Thursday. That's going to be sick, with my buddy Rob Dog, around the technology they've been working on. If you've been watching Frothy Fridays for a bit, you've probably heard me talk about Positive Prime. We're going to release a program called Prime for Performance, which is going to be sick. It's going to have a little bit of ice optimization in it, but it's going to be mostly focusing on foundational practices for priming your day for radness, including how to get the best out of the technology that we've been working on. And I'm really looking forward to it. Started coaching a little bit again, and I'm really, really enjoying, even though it is online, the feedback and the froth resonance which is coming through. It truly is magical, especially when you can chuck on some of your buddies' music to drop people into the space. Shout out to Tayoski, listen to the song The Wire and try not to feel frothy. Anywho, that'll do. Catch us later. Have a beautiful weekend and into the week. And that's all. Bricks.